You won't like what I'm about to say. Most people don't. But I never made a habit of feeding people comforting nonsense. So let's get this over with. Wealth doesn't come to people who wish for it. It doesn't come to people who read affirmations, chant mantras, or stare at vision boards. It comes to people who train their minds to stop doing stupid things. That's the part nobody wants to hear. They want the magic. They want the shortcut. They want the fantasy where the universe hands them a bag of money because they vibrated correctly. Well, I spent almost a century on this planet. And let me tell you, the universe doesn't give a damn about your vibrations. When my life finally started compounding in the right direction, it wasn't because I suddenly became brilliant. I simply became less idiotic. I stopped lying to myself. I stopped expecting easy results. I stopped confusing hope with strategy. And that shift, that brutal, uncomfortable shift, changed everything. People ask me, "Charlie, how do I attract wealth?" I tell them the same thing every time. Train your mind to work for you instead of against you. Everything else is noise. But here's the real problem, and this is where most people shut the video off. Your mind, as it is right now, is probably your biggest liability. You've been trained by society, by advertising, by envy, by your own impulses, to respond in ways that destroy wealth long before you ever have a chance to build it. You chase what's exciting instead of what's rational. You imitate people who are louder, not people who are wiser. You react emotionally to problems that require cold judgment. And worse, you don't even notice you're doing it. If you want wealth, you have to rewire that machine between your ears. You have to treat your mind the same way you'd treat an underperforming employee. You confront it, you correct it, and you fire the parts that can't be fixed. This video is not entertainment. It's a mental audit. And audits are rarely pleasant. Over the next chapters, I'll walk you through the same process I used on myself. The same process that turned a fairly ordinary man into someone who made more money in his 70s than most people could imagine in their entire lives. Not because I wanted it badly, but because I stopped thinking like a fool. So, let's begin. And if anything I say offends you, good. That means it's working. If I had to compress my entire philosophy into one sentence, it would be this: the quickest way to improve your life is to stop being a damn fool. People think wealth is about brilliance. It isn't. I've met brilliant people who couldn't hold on to a nickel because they were experts at self-inflicted harm. And I've met fairly average people who became rich simply because they avoided the obvious mistakes that ruin everyone else. Avoiding stupidity is the highest form of intelligence. Write that down if you need to. Let me be brutally honest. Most of the suffering in your life isn't caused by the world. It's caused by your own decisions. The world is messy, yes, but your mind? It can be catastrophic. You're sabotaging yourself in ways you don't even realize. I learned this the hard way. In my early years, I wanted to be clever. I thought cleverness was some sort of currency. I wanted to be the smartest guy in the room, which, by the way, is a childish impulse dressed up as ambition. And every time I acted from that impulse, I paid the price. It took me decades to understand that success is not about being smart. It's about being consistently not stupid. When I finally stopped chasing cleverness, my results improved instantly. I began stripping destructive habits out of my life with the enthusiasm of a man pulling weeds before they strangle the garden. And surprise, the garden grew. You want to train your mind for wealth? Start here. Start with subtraction. Let me give you a simple exercise, one that actually works, not the fluffy nonsense popular on the internet. One, write down every dumb financial decision you've made in the past 5 years. Be honest, no excuses, no rewriting the story to make yourself look better. 2, circle the ones that hurt you the most. There will be patterns. Impulsiveness, envy, overconfidence, ignorance, wishful thinking. 3, now write the antidote. If envy made you chase someone else's opportunity, your antidote is discipline. If ignorance made you follow a trend you didn't understand, your antidote is patience. If overconfidence made you gamble, your antidote is humility. This alone, this unglamorous, uncomfortable audit, will do more for your wealth than any mindset book ever printed. But you won't like this process because it forces you to confront the real villain in your story, yourself. And people hate that. They would rather blame the economy, the government, their upbringing, their boss, the market, Mercury in retrograde, anything but their own patterns of stupidity. You want to be rich? Fine. But understand this first. All wealth is built on the back of disciplined avoidance. Avoiding envy, avoiding haste, avoiding ego, avoiding fantasies, avoiding people who drag you down, avoiding opportunities that don't make sense, avoiding the seductive noise of the crowd. That's the training, not glory, not excitement, not manifesting. Avoidance. You become wealthy the same way you survive a minefield, by not stepping on the obvious explosives. The irony is that most people know exactly which explosives they keep stepping on. They just refuse to stop. They want the reward without the restraint. And that's why they stay broke, not financially, but mentally. If you can master the discipline of not doing, of not reacting, of not chasing, you'll be ahead of 90% of humanity. And the beautiful part? You don't need talent for this. Just self-respect. Let's move on. There's another piece of training that changed my life, and it will change yours if you actually apply it. If you want to know the single most liberating moment of my financial life, it wasn't the day I made my first million. It was the day I finally admitted to myself how little I actually understood. Most people go broke because they can't tolerate that feeling, the feeling of intellectual limitation. They want to be experts in everything. They want to comment on every topic, invest in every trend, imitate every winner they see on the internet. And they tell themselves they're being ambitious, when in reality, they're being dangerously ignorant. Let me tell you a secret that took me far too long to internalize. You don't need to be smart at everything. You just need to be smart where it matters. For you. That's the circle of competence. A brutally honest map of what you actually know and what you merely think you know. I spent years pretending to understand things I didn't. And I paid tuition for that stupidity, not the kind of tuition you pay at a university. I mean the painful financial kind. The market has a way of extracting truth from you, and the extraction is never gentle. Eventually, I learned the rule that changed my entire trajectory. Only play games you can win. Ignore the rest. When I started investing only in things I truly understood, not vaguely understood, not sort of understood, but understood so clearly I could explain them to a reasonably intelligent teenager. The results became almost embarrassingly consistent. People look at my track record and they think it's brilliance. It isn't brilliance, it's obedience. Obedience to the limits of my own mind. Now, let me give you something practical, because awareness without action is worthless. Here's the exercise I used on myself long before anyone cared who I was. 1. Take a blank sheet of paper. At the top, write, what do I actually understand? Not what you want to understand, not what your ego insists you understand, what you actually understand. Be merciless. Half the progress in life comes from having the courage to admit you're clueless. 2. Write 3 domains, not 10, not 20, where you honestly believe you have an edge. An edge means you see something others often miss. Maybe it's an industry you've worked in for decades. Maybe it's a skill you've honed through relentless repetition. Maybe it's a type of problem you've learned to solve better than the average person. If you can't list 3, list 1. If you can't list 1, congratulations. You're finally telling the truth. That means you can start building competence instead of pretending to have it. 3. Draw a box around those domains. This box is your circle of competence. Everything inside is fair game. Everything outside is toxic. From that moment on, you have one job: stay inside the damn box. People resist this advice because it feels limiting. Good. It should feel limiting. Reality is limiting. The world doesn't reward fantasy. It rewards discipline. Let me explain something the crowd never understands. Rich people aren't good at everything. They're extremely good at a few things, and they ruthlessly ignore the rest. Every time I strayed from my circle, I paid a price. Every time I stayed inside it, I compounded wealth quietly and predictably. And here's the final truth, the one people hate. Your circle doesn't need to be big. It needs to be real. A tiny circle built on real understanding will outperform a massive imaginary one every time. Most people live intellectual lives like a kid scribbling outside the lines of a coloring book. Chaotic, sloppy, and proud of it. And then they wonder why nothing compounds. Draw your circle, respect it, operate within it until you're unignorably effective. Then, and only then, expand it slowly through actual study and real-world experience, not through arrogance. That's how you build a mind that attracts wealth instead of repelling it. All right? Now that we've handled competence, let's move into something even harder and far more valuable. People love the idea of patience, right up until the moment they have to practice it. Everyone wants to get rich slowly, as long as it happens fast. Let me give you a blunt truth most people never absorb. You will never build real wealth if you can't tolerate delay, not emotionally, not intellectually, not financially. Patience is not passive. Patience is not waiting around like some obedient monk. Patience is strategic restraint, the deliberate refusal to act stupid just because the world is pressuring you to. I've watched countless smart people ruin perfectly good opportunities because they couldn't sit still. They needed action. They needed stimulation. They needed the illusion of progress. And the market punish them for every twitch. The world rewards people who can remain calm while everyone else is panicking. That's not poetic, that's practical. Let me tell you something from my own life. Most of the money I made didn't come from brilliant moves. It came from not touching things when every bone in my body wanted to. I held positions while everyone else traded themselves into exhaustion. I waited for the fat pitch while others swung wildly at every passing curveball. I tolerated boredom, and boredom paid me more than excitement ever could. You want a mind that attracts wealth? Learn to delay gratification like a disciplined adult, not a child demanding candy in the checkout line. Here's the uncomfortable exercise, the kind that rewires your brain instead of flattering it. 1. Identify one impulsive behavior that consistently hurts your finances. Maybe you chase shiny opportunities. Maybe you jump into investments because everyone else is excited. Maybe you panic sell at the first sign of volatility. Whatever it is, name it. Call the devil by its name. 2. For the next 30 days, practice one rule. I will not act for 24 hours on anything that triggers an emotional reaction. Just 24 hours, not a lifetime. Not a vow of silence. One day. Do you know what happens when you force yourself to wait? Your intelligence has time to catch up to your emotions. That alone can save you decades of grief. 3. Train yourself to survive quiet periods. This is the hardest part. Everyone can make decisions during chaos. Almost no one can survive dullness. But that's where compounding does its work, in silence. You don't see the progress. You don't feel the progress. You don't get applause for patience. But the scoreboard changes while you sleep. Most people treat time like an enemy. I treated time like a partner, the most loyal partner I ever had. And here's the kicker. If you can't stand boredom, you're not ready for wealth. Wealth comes from sustained rational behavior over long periods. Not 1 week of discipline, not 1 month of enthusiasm, years. People hear that and say, that sounds hard. Good. If it were easy, idiots would do it too. Patience is the filter that separates the adults from the emotional toddlers masquerading as investors. If you can cultivate rational patience, not passive waiting, but disciplined non-action, you'll find opportunities that others never see. And more importantly, you'll actually be prepared to capitalize on them when they arrive. All right. Now that we've built the foundation of patience, let's talk about the force that governs almost all human behavior. And most people never see it coming. If you really want to understand the world, not the fantasy version, but the real inconvenient one, start with incentives. Everything else is secondary. I don't care how noble people claim to be. I don't care what they say in public, or what slogans they repeat, or what image they try to project. If you show me the incentives, I can predict the behavior. People are not mysteries. They're machines responding to rewards and punishments just like you, just like me. Early in my life, I made a mistake that cost me time and money. I believed what people said instead of studying what they responded to. That's how you get manipulated. That's how you get blindsided. And that's how you get financially drained by people who aren't even malicious. They're just following their incentives like heat-seeking missiles. Once I understood this, I stopped expecting people to act against their interests, and my life got quieter, cleaner, and far more profitable. Now, listen carefully because this is one of the most valuable mental models you will ever learn. People will always do what they're incentivized to do, even if it contradicts what they believe, what they say, or what you wish they would do. It's not cynicism, it's pattern recognition. Here's an example from my own experience. I've seen investment managers swear they're long-term thinkers, while being paid bonuses based on quarterly performance. And every single time, their behavior matched their paycheck, not their philosophy. That's not character failure. That's basic human nature. If you want to avoid stupidity, yours and others, study incentives like a surgeon studying anatomy. You don't cut someone open without knowing where the arteries are, and you shouldn't make decisions without knowing what drives the people involved. Now, let me give you something practical, because knowing this isn't enough. You need to apply it. 1. Take any situation you're dealing with, personal, professional, financial. Strip away the emotions, strip away the assumptions, strip away the wishful thinking. 2. Ask one brutal question. What is everyone here incentivized to do? Not what they say they want, not what they claim their values are. What are they paid for? What are they rewarded for? What are they punished for? Those 3 answers will tell you exactly how things will unfold. 3. Adjust your expectations accordingly. Most disappointment in life comes from expecting people to act contrary to their incentives. That's delusion. Cut it out. Understand this deeply. Incentives are a far more powerful force than good intentions. I built my career by aligning myself with people whose incentives matched mine, and I avoided the ones whose incentives pointed in the opposite direction. That single discipline saved me from at least a dozen disasters. You want to build wealth? Learn to diagnose incentives faster than other people. It's like having X-ray vision for human behavior. But here's the part that requires real maturity. You also have to examine your own incentives. The hidden ones, the embarrassing ones, the ones you pretend don't exist. Are you incentivized to chase status instead of substance? Are you incentivized to look smart instead of be smart? Are you incentivized to follow the crowd because standing alone is uncomfortable? If your incentives are misaligned, your life will be too. Fix the incentives, and the behavior fixes itself. Ignore them, and you'll keep wondering why your efforts don't compound. All right, now that we've dealt with incentives, the skeleton of behavior, it's time for something even more uncomfortable: thinking in reverse. People love thinking forward. They love imagining success, visualizing victory, dreaming about what they want. Forward thinking feels good. It flatters the ego. But forward thinking is also where most stupidity hides. The smartest people I've ever met, and the wealthiest, spend an uncomfortable amount of time doing the opposite. They think backward. They invert. They ask, what will destroy me? Before they ask, what will help me? This simple shift separated me from 99% of people long before I had a dollar to my name. Let me give you the raw truth. If you don't learn to think in reverse, your mind becomes a trap, a beautifully decorated prison where optimism blinds you to danger. I've watched entire careers collapse because people only asked, how do I win? But they never asked, how do I lose? I've seen investors obsess over maximizing returns while ignoring the simple behaviors that would wipe them out long before those returns ever materialized. That's why inversion matters. It exposes the stupidity that forward thinking conveniently hides. Here's how I used inversion in my own life, and how you should too. 1. Start with failure, not success. Whenever I considered a decision, investment, partnership, strategy, whatever, I didn't ask, how can this work? I asked, how can this blow up in my face? Once you identify the trapdoors, you stop walking into them. Most people never ask this question because their ego can't handle it. They don't want to imagine failure. They want to feel good. Feeling good is the enemy of clear thinking. 2. Remove the disasters, and what remains is manageable. I didn't build my life by finding the perfect opportunities. I built it by avoiding the catastrophic ones. Avoid stupidity long enough, and the score takes care of itself. People think that's pessimism. It's not. It's engineering. If you design a bridge, you don't pray it holds. You eliminate the scenarios that would make it collapse. Same rule for life. 3. Inversion turns vague problems into simple ones. Here's the exercise I used for decades, and I still recommend it. Take any goal you have: wealth, health, relationships, career. Now write this. How do I guarantee failure? Write every stupid behavior that would sabotage the goal. Then, this part is crucial. Don't do those things. It's not glamorous. It's not romantic. It's not the kind of advice that sells books, but it works. I became rich not because I was chasing brilliance, but because I avoided idiocy. That's inversion. 4. Inversion protects you from your own blind spots. Most of the time, you don't need more knowledge. You need fewer illusions. When you focus on how things fail, your illusions die fast. Your fantasies evaporate. Your laziness gets exposed. Your excuses become embarrassing. That kind of clarity is painful, but it's also profitable. People ask me, Charlie, what's your secret to making good decisions? Here it is. I spent far more time asking, what would be a terrible decision? Then I avoided those like the plague. That alone put me miles ahead of people who were supposedly smarter than me. 5. Inversion forces humility, and humility saves fortunes. I don't care how confident you are. I don't care how sharp you think your instincts are. I don't care how smart your friends say you are. If you don't build humility into your decision-making, life will eventually supply it for you, violently. Inversion is the antidote. It forces you to confront the weaknesses you pretend you don't have. That confrontation is uncomfortable, but it beats bankruptcy, disappointment, and humiliation. Look, if you want wealth, you need to understand this. Success is often just the leftover that remains after you subtract stupidity. That's inversion. That's the discipline. That's the method. Think backward until the obstacles reveal themselves. Remove the stupidity, then let rational behavior compound. All right. Now that we've torn down the mental junk, it's time to deal with something even more poisonous. The emotion that quietly destroys more wealth than recessions, crashes, and bad luck combined. If you want the truth, the real truth, here it is. Envy destroys more lives than poverty ever will. People think they're ruined because they don't have enough money. No, most people are ruined because they can't stand seeing someone else with more. Envy is the silent tax on your happiness, your clarity, your judgment, and your capacity to think. It drains you quietly. It corrodes the mind from the inside out. And worst of all, it blinds you to your own potential because you're too busy staring at someone else's scoreboard. I've seen envy turn intelligent people into idiots. I've watched investors with perfectly good strategies throw everything away just because someone next to them made money faster. I've watched careers collapse because people cared more about appearances than competence. And I've watched ordinary individuals stay broke for decades, not because they lacked ability, but because envy kept convincing them that their progress didn't count unless it looked like someone else's. If you want to train your mind for wealth, you have to kill envy before it kills your judgment. Let me tell you something I learned painfully early. There is no level of success at which envy disappears. It just changes targets. You make $50,000. You envy the guy making $100,000. You make $100,000. You envy the guy making $500,000. You make $500,000. You envy the guy with a private jet. You buy the jet. You envy the guy with the bigger one. There's no finish line. There is only the psychological treadmill of comparing yourself to people who don't care you exist. It's absurd, it's tragic, and it's voluntary. Now, let me give you something uncomfortable. No one envies downward, only upward. Which means envy is a choice to torture yourself with a deliberately distorted view of reality. You ignore the millions behind you and obsess over the tiny handful ahead of you. Then you wonder why your life feels empty. So, here's my rule, and yes, it's harsh. If envy enters the room, wisdom leaves. If envy enters your mind, wealth leaks out. Now, here's the practical part. The part that will actually rewire your psychology if you're willing to be brutally honest with yourself. 1. Identify the people who trigger your envy. Be honest. Write down the names, not abstract groups. Real people. If a name makes your stomach twist, circle it. There's your poison source. 2. For each name, write this question. Am I envying their success or their behavior? Most people envy results they never earned without noticing the behavior that produced those results. You envy someone's money, but not their discipline. You envy their physique, but not their daily habits. You envy their status, but not their sacrifices. Envy always edits the story. It shows you the highlight reel and hides the cost. 3. Now write the antidote. Respect, not admiration, not worship. Respect. Respect says, they earned their results. Good for them. Now, what can I build? Respect clears the mind. Envy suffocates it. 4. Replace comparison with competence. Every minute you spend envying someone else is a minute stolen from improving yourself. You want wealth? Fine. Then spend more time strengthening your circle of competence and less time scrolling through other people's curated illusions. Nothing slows compounding more than emotional pollution, envy. is the worst pollutant of all. Let me leave you with one truth that took most people a lifetime to realize. If they ever realize it at all, envy is the only sin that gives you no pleasure. Lust gives pleasure. Gluttony gives pleasure. Pride gives pleasure. Envy gives you nothing but bitterness and stupidity. If you want to attract wealth, you must eliminate the internal forces that repel it. Envy is at the top of that list by a wide margin. All right. Now that we've dealt with the most corrosive emotion in human psychology, it's time for the chapter that ties all of this together, the part that actually builds wealth once the mental garbage is removed. If you want to understand why most people stay stuck, here's the simplest explanation I can give you. They don't stick with anything long enough for compounding to do its work. Everyone worships compounding in theory. Almost no one respects it in practice. People love the idea of exponential growth, but they can't handle the early years when nothing seems to be happening, when results are microscopic, invisible, boring. They want fireworks. They want dopamine. They want confirmation every week that they're on the right path. Real compounding never gives you that. Let me tell you something that took me decades to internalize. Compounding is not a financial principle. It's a behavioral one. Your habits compound, your discipline compounds, your stupidity compounds, your patience compounds, your envy compounds, your decisions compound. Money is just the scoreboard. People think I became wealthy because of a few great investments. That's false. I became wealthy because I made fewer stupid moves over time. And I stayed consistent long enough for that discipline to snowball. Consistency is the multiplier. Time is the amplifier. Behavior is the input. Wealth is the output. You can't cheat this. Now, let's get into the part people ignore. The part that actually transforms your life if you apply it. 1. Improve your behavior by 1%. Repeatedly. Everyone is obsessed with dramatic transformations. Forget that. If you improve your thinking in small, steady increments, the results won't just add up. They multiply. I trained myself to be a little less impulsive each year. A little more rational, a little more patient, a little more humble, a little more aligned with my circle of competence. Those little changes were like turning a dial one click at a time. After a decade, the direction of my life had completely altered. After several decades, the difference was astronomical. Most people fail because they demand breakthroughs. I succeeded because I demanded improvements. 2. Subtract stupidity before adding brilliance. You don't need genius. You need fewer self-inflicted wounds. When you stop doing 5 dumb things a month, your life improves far faster than if you add 5 new smart habits. People don't like hearing that because they're addicted to novelty. They want new hacks, new strategies, new tricks. But compounding doesn't care about hacks. Compounding rewards stability, discipline, and consistently avoiding idiotic behavior. If you want wealth, build a system where stupidity has a hard time surviving. 3. Protect your environment like it's your oxygen supply. Your environment is compounding you too, for better or worse. If you surround yourself with losers who envy, complain, and chase fantasies, guess what you'll become? Your social circle is either accelerating your compounding or poisoning it. I made it a rule to avoid people who threatened my discipline, my clarity, or my judgment. Not because I'm superior, but because compounding punishes contamination ruthlessly. One toxic person can slow your progress by years. One stable, rational person can accelerate it dramatically. Choose your influences like you choose your investments. Very carefully. 4. Let time do the heavy lifting. People underestimate what patience does to results. If you keep your behavior stable, your circle of competence clear, your emotions controlled, and your stupidity minimized, time becomes your greatest ally. Time compounds everything: your habits, your relationships, your money, your wisdom. You don't need to force kickbacks. Scale shows up naturally when you keep doing the right things for long enough. That's why most people fail. They can't endure the silence before the applause. I made more money in my 70s than in the decades before. Not because I suddenly got smarter, but because compounding finally had enough runway. Time rewarded the years I spent not being an idiot. 5. Build a life that compounds even when you're asleep. Here's the part nobody thinks about. You want systems, not sprints. Processes, not excitement. Long-term structures that quietly work in the background. Most people live like firefighters. Every day is a new emergency. I lived like an engineer. Build the system once, then let it run with minimal stupidity. Compounding is a reward for long-term behavior stability. If your life is chaotic, compounding can't stick. Make your habits boring. Make your decisions consistent. Make your environment predictable. Make your goals durable. Wealth loves stability. It flees chaos. Let me leave you with the most important truth of this chapter. If your behavior doesn't compound, your wealth never will. There's no trick, there's no shortcut, there's no magic mindset. It's the quiet accumulation of rational decisions, repeated over uncomfortable lengths of time, that creates extraordinary outcomes. All right, we're almost at the end. Now, it's time to tie everything together and deliver the closing philosophy that holds this entire method in place. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You already think differently from most people, not because you're smarter, but because you're willing to confront uncomfortable truths without running away. And that, by the way, is the beginning of real wealth. People think the world is divided into the rich and the poor. That's not how I see it. The world is divided into those who think clearly and those who drown in their own illusions. Wealth is just a side effect of the first group. Let me give you the simplest summary of everything I've said so far. The method I actually lived by. The method that built my fortune, my career, and my sanity. 1. Avoid stupidity. Not once, not occasionally, systematically. You don't rise by doing brilliant things. You rise by not doing the catastrophically dumb ones. Most people are one bad impulse away from ruining a decade of progress. Don't be one of them. 2. Stay inside your circle of competence. Play games you can win. Ignore the ones you can't. The world punishes arrogance. It rewards self-awareness. 3. Be rationally patient. Wait for the fat pitch. Endure boredom. Stop demanding immediate results. Time is your servant if you're disciplined, your executioner if you're not. 4. Study incentives relentlessly. If you don't understand what motivates people, you're negotiating blind. Show me the incentives, and I'll show you the outcome. It's that simple and that brutal. 5. Invert. Think backward. Find the failure points. Remove the stupidity. Success becomes almost inevitable when failure becomes difficult. 6. Kill envy. Envy is mental poison. It rots judgment, wastes energy, and distorts reality. You can't build wealth while obsessing over someone else's life. 7. Let wisdom and behavior compound. Small improvements, consistent habits, few mistakes, long runway. That's the entire formula. People want fireworks, but wealth is built in quiet rooms, through boring discipline, by people who don't need applause. You want to know the truth? This method isn't genius. It isn't glamorous. It isn't mystical. It's just rationality applied with endurance. And because so few people can stomach that level of discipline, it gives an enormous advantage to the people who can. When I look back on my life, the lesson is embarrassingly clear. I didn't outperform the world because I was smarter. I outperformed it because I avoided the nonsense that traps almost everybody else. That's it. That's the whole game. If you want wealth, real, durable wealth, you don't need luck, brilliance, or cosmic manifestation. You need a mind that doesn't sabotage itself, a mind that can think clearly under pressure, a mind that can delay gratification, a mind that sees reality as it is, not as it wishes it were. You've now heard the blueprint. The rest is up to you. And I'll leave you with a final line, the closest thing to a mantra I've ever had. When you avoid stupidity, what's left is the room where wisdom compounds. Walk into that room and stay there for as long as you can. That's where wealth lives, that's where sanity lives, and that's where your life will finally start working.